The Mandalorian and Grogu is finally out, and it's so good to watch a Star Wars movie in the theaters again after such a long time. The movie tells a standalone story, one adventure of the Mandalorian and Grogu together. It is fun even if you haven't watched the series, but it's much more rewarding if you are already familiar with what happened to them so far. Through the movie, the characters visit different planets, each one with its own unique aesthetic and music, which gives every location a distinct identity, almost as if each section belongs to a different movie or even an episode. The film combines CGI, animatronics, and practical effects very effectively. We have Zeb making a live-action appearance that looks really good, and Grogu's movements and facial expressions are outstanding, as for many of the other aliens that we see in the movie. The overall production quality is very high. The Mandalorian continues hunting Imperial agents, as mentioned in the end of the last season, but this time he's accompanied by Zeb, a character that we already know from Rebels, who also made a brief appearance at the third season of The Mandalorian. This is a self-contained adventure that resembles the stories from the first seasons. Now, Din Djarin continues accompanied by Grogu, who is responsible for many of the film's funniest and most heartwarming moments, and his interactions with the Mandalorian strengthen their father and son dynamic. Their mission is given by the twins, Hutts that already appeared in the Book of Boba Fett, and they task the Mandalorian in rescuing their nephew, Rota, who is also another returning character. He is the son of Jabba the Hutt. We first met him as a baby in the Clone Wars movie, where he was kidnapped by Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress before being rescued by Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano. Back then, he was just a baby, but many years have passed and now we finally see him as an adult Hutt. This is interesting because Rota is completely different from his father and from most of the Hutts that we have seen before. Traditionally, the Hutts are portrayed as big gangster slugs, always serving as sort of an antagonist. Rota, however, is exceptionally strong and physically imposing and has a much more friendly personality, trying to stay away from the Hutt's image. As shown in the trailers, he's fighting in a gladiator arena, which is fascinating. For the first time, we get a better sense of how powerful the Hutts can be when they are in combat and how they move during the fights. Speaking of Hutts, we also visit Now Hutta, planet controlled by the twins. It has a unique biodiversity and visual style that we previously saw very briefly on a few episodes of Clone Wars. Seeing it in live action is impressive and is one of the most visually interesting locations in the film. We also see the return of Embo, another bounty hunter who previously appeared in Clone Wars and now is adapted to live action. In the end, the movie doesn't introduce any major change to the galaxy or provide significant clues about where the larger story is heading. It doesn't establish how the Mandalorian's future will be connected to the events developed in Ahsoka or to the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. Instead, it remains a contained, well-crafted, and high-quality adventure, which is very entertaining. In fact, it stands among the very best stories featuring the Mandalorian and Grogu. At the very least, it ranks alongside the strongest episodes of the series, while benefiting from a much larger production scale and a significantly higher visual quality. Now, all that remains is to wait and see when we'll get the next chapter of their story, if it's going to continue as another movie or in a fourth season. But what about you? Did you like The Mandalorian and Grogu? What are you expecting next? Let me know in the comments. Hope you enjoyed this video. This is the way.